Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
So what's the deal here? Hold on.
Oh god. With what?
Look up here at this one.
I think that's so the lava goes up higher because it is it one hole into the ceiling, so it doesn't come forward. Didn't come forward.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why it looks like that because the fence should.
Well, because the other ones you
covered.
can see if you look up, you see stone, and this one you look up and you see lava.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that one. No, I'm afraid. Wow. Made it to the top of the pyramid. Oh, I didn't know if you was because I didn't land. Why does it look like that? Oh, yeah, I know. Wow, I don't know how that was actually not burning. Right? Is that better?
Let me see.
I'm probably in your way now.
Yeah. Though it's cobble, not stone.
You can't tell that from down there.
I can. I just called it, didn't I?
Get out of here with your Optifine.
I ain't got no Optifine.
Well, you want to hear
I
the
do.
most ridiculous shit that I had to deal with over the holiday because of people being stupid.
What happened?
So my EMT card for the state of Maryland was set to expire at the end of 2019.
What's an EMT card?
Emergency medical technician.
No, I know what EMT means, but like, what is that?
Basically, the certification that I'm an EMT in the state of Maryland.
Oh, do you have to?
So,
what do you have to do to renew those?
So, well, you have to take like continuing education and a course, and there's just standard stuff that you have to take for them. The bigger problem that we have now is there's something called National Registry, which is something that you have to get every or you have to get initial EMT certification now. Dumb the way they do it. And once you're certified to the national level, then the state of Maryland will give you an EMT card. Granted, it's not how it was when I first got mine, but that's how it is now. Mm-hmm. So you get a national registry certification. And then state of Maryland's like, oh, you met the national standards, therefore here's your ability to practice within our state of Maryland as well.
Gotcha.
So the problem is the National Registry EMT is a 2-year certification. So you have to get a renewal every 2 years. And the state of Maryland EMT is every 3 years.
Okay.
So you end up, if you hold both of them and want to continue to hold both of them, you get really off cycle really quickly. Yeah. Because there's just it's dumb the way that they do stuff. I've maintained both for quite a while now, and basically I got my EMT back when I took it. You got your state EMT, but then you could go take your national exam if you wanted to get national registry. You could take the written exam, and as long as you did it within a year of getting your initial certification, you didn't have to take a practical exam. Okay. So I waited till just about the end of the year, took my written, got my national certification, but that way I kind of lined up that 1 year. My state EMT, which expires in 3 years, now only has 2 years left, and my national has 2 years left. So basically, they'll expire at the same time, the first time. So I then take my state or my refresher course, and I get both of them recertified at one point. But now I'm sitting here. One is going to expire in 3 years. One's going to expire in 2 years. Well, 2 years later, I take my refresher course for the national EMT, and I still have 1 year left on my state EMT. The weird thing that they do about this, though, is that any time in your recycle or your refresher period for your state EMT, you can take your refresher stuff and it still counts. So literally, I could refresh one day, and then the very next day, I could take a refresher course, and in 3 years when it expires, I already have my refresher course on the books.
Really?
That I needed to take. Yeah.
Why don't you just do that? Like, that makes the most sense because you definitely got all the knowledge that.
Well, you can technically, if you do it right, you could take 2 refresher courses back to back. Like, you could take one on a Friday, or like, I guess 2-day, they're 2-day courses. Like, you could take one on Thursday and Friday of one week, and one on Monday and Tuesday of the next week. If your EMT was done in the middle of that, you've technically gone. You could do 6 years without ever having to take a course.
That seems like the thing to do.
2 of them at one time. Well, but you still have to take it. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, but like the knowledge, you don't have to like you don't. I mean, yeah, maybe it isn't the thing to do because then in like 6 years when you do,
then in real situations you don't actually know this stuff, especially like as a firefighter who barely is on the engine anymore or on the ambulance anymore. Actually, never on the ambulance anymore. But we still run EMS calls from the engine, but just we're not usually the people in charge. So I do a lot less EMT stuff anymore. But yes, you could in theory do what I'm saying. So when I kind of did that in a way, because as the years went on, I finally got to the point where I took my refresher course for one of them, and I still had 2 years left on my one EMT class, even though it was a 3-year certification. So that one just expired, but I literally took the refresher course for it in June of 2017. And now it's the end of 2019, and the refresher course that I took in 2017 counts because I'm within that 3-year window.
Right.
So long story short, I end up applying. You have to apply on the website for your certification, for them to like approve your certification and show them like your stuff. It's an application process, which is kind of stupid the way that's done, but it is what it is. So I put my application in on the Maryland website in early November, and I continue to get these emails from them saying that they will examine. They will look at my transcripts to determine my eligibility, that I've like met all the requirements or whatever within 5 to 10 business days. 5 to 10 business days later, I got another email that said they will be looking at my stuff within 5 to 10 business days.
Okay.
5 to 10 business days later, what email do you think I got?
Okay, wow. What the hell?
So I called them in like early December and was like, look, you keep sending me these repeat emails as opposed to having like the decision made and you guys updating and saying like, here is your brand new card. You've met all the requirements. And the lady just literally says something like, "No, I'm looking at it. I see all your stuff here. They actually it doesn't do anything until it actually expires, so nothing will go through." And I was like, so I have to just sit here because you didn't used to be an electronic system online. It used to be like you mailed them stuff and things got mailed back to you. There was nothing you did online. And I was like, so you're just saying I just wait and pray that you don't just revoke my EMT, that you're just gonna like it just goes through. She's like, yeah, I'm looking at it all right now in the system. It's all fine. I see all your trainings there and all. Everything's gonna go through just fine. Like, this is how we do it. It's like, okay, I don't like this at all. Just like you said, I don't like this system at all. So I keep checking and I keep checking and I keep checking and I'm trying to like make sure, and nothing is going through. But she has assured me everything is going to go through.
Yeah. Didn't go through.
Two major mistakes that got made.
You believe
they had written my expiration date as 12/30/2019.
2019. Okay.
How many days are in December?
31, I guess. I don't know.
New EMT card doesn't start until 1/1/20 if it goes through. Always starts in the first of the year. So no matter how you look at it,
though,
they set me up for a day where I didn't have an EMT license. A day I was at the fire station for.
Yeah. Is it that big of a deal?
If I didn't have a license, I would be removed from my active roster list.
For just a day, though, right?
It depends. It's hard to get put back on because if you get your license, if you ever lose, like have a in your licensure, it's not easy to just get it back.
But like, couldn't everyone just like not like look at you? Couldn't everyone just look the other way? I guess.
Apparently, nobody really looked on the 30th or on the 31st for the fact that it was already expired. Nobody realize that 30th date existed in there, so the 31st. However, I did get emailed on the 31st saying, we see that your stuff hasn't been renewed. You will be removed from our active list as of tomorrow. Okay. Because you will no longer be an EMT.
Yeah.
So I called back to the Maryland people, which coincidentally were amazingly working on the 31st at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank God.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening? Like, I've already talked to you guys. This is what you told me. And the lady goes, yeah, well, it's because your training stuff isn't in here. That's why I can't renew. Your training's not in here. It's missing. And I was like, but I've already called you and you've assured me that it is in there. And she's like, well, no, I can't renew because it's not in there. We never received it. We have no knowledge of it. And I said, were you ever going to tell me this if that is the problem? Like, I've applied for renewal. Are you going to tell me that you're not going to renew me because something is missing? And she's like, oh, you didn't get like an email or something in the mail from us saying that it was missing? And I said, no. You continued to send me the same email that you will be, checking the status in, 5 days or 5 to 10 business days. And she's like, oh, it must have been a glitch in the system. Like that was like her response. So I was like, I don't know what is happening here, like what to do. Luckily, you can put in for a 6-month extension. But for some reason, the application for the extension didn't exist on my account. Like, they had to add it on the back end, so I didn't even have the ability to do it. But she's like, just put it in for the extension. Like, that'll do. Well, then we can take care of everything later. Like, no big deal. So luckily, I get this extension put in. And I'm safe for 6 months because of the fact that, I'm doing that weird fly thing again. Yep, I'm flying through blocks. I'm safe for 6 months because I have this extension until I can get it dealt with. A buddy of mine is in the exact same situation, except he's already on a 6-month extension.
What happened?
So he got his EMT revoked on the 1st because he didn't have it. It expired, and the county had to pull him off of the active roster.
But was that because of something he did, or is that because of some stupid stuff like what happened?
Well, I haven't talked to him after. I know he got the classes done, and whether they're not in their transcript. So I don't know what his situation is with what the final thing that they're going to do. So I called after the new year to the place that keeps the transcripts of the training and said, what's the deal? Like with my transcripts that I see it on my public transcript that you guys have that I've taken this course. It never got sent over to what's called MIMS for them to have record of this. Why didn't it go over? And the lady looks at it and she goes, I can see that you took this class in, blah, 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 on this date in 2017. I can literally see that we transmitted it electronically to MIMS on this date. And she goes, and I can see that they electronically acknowledged it on this date. So she has in her system all these acknowledgments of like everything that is done appropriately by me. So she's like, hold on, let me call them. And so she comes back on the phone a little bit later and says, I found the guy you need to talk to. This is his name. This is his phone number. Give him a call, but he's in a meeting right now for an hour. Give him a call in an hour. So I say, okay. So call him in an hour. And of course, he's in another meeting, so call back in an hour. So I call back an hour later, and he's in a meeting. Call back in an hour. Just this keeps going. But I finally do get a hold of him at the end of the day. He doesn't know, like, anything about my situation somehow. And, like, even though we've been told to call this guy. So I go through the whole spiel with him again. He looks at it and goes, oh, yeah, that's weird. Like, I see it all. I'll see it all right here. Like, all the training's here. I don't know why it didn't go through. But he's like, but I see that you're on an extension, so no big deal. It'll be fine. And I was like, it won't be fine. So now that you see it all, like, finalize the process and get it extended and get it all finished. And he's like, oh, now that you're on an extension, I can't. You just have to wait until June.
Oh, good Lord.
And I said, no. I don't just have to wait until June. You need to take care of this now. And he's like, well, no, you can't. The system should just automatically do this in June.
Oh, Lord.
And I said, what makes you think the system is going to automatically do something in June that it didn't do yesterday?
Right.
And he's like, what do you mean? I said, what's changed? I said, did you just get these transcripts? Did the transcripts just show up in your system? And he's like, oh no, they've been here for a while. I don't have a problem. And I was like, so what do you think is going to be different? Like next time? Like, I don't understand like how you think this is just going to be acceptable to just wait until June. And he was like, well, I'm not really like a computer guy or anything, but it shouldn't be a problem with any of this stuff going through. And I was like, look, I am a computer guy, and I am not going to just sit here and accept the fact that I have to wait until June now. Like, you can't tell me because I'm on an extension, there's no way to just like get the issue moving forward and issue my new card with the right expiration and everything like that, because you extended the expiration date on a current one that should have already expired, but I'm already fulfilled all my obligations for renewal.
Right.
Finally, he just goes, well, you've piqued my interest enough. I guess I'm going to talk to my director about this. And literally, we hung up the phone, and 20 minutes later, like, I had a brand new, like, an email that said everything was, like, finalized and through. And
I wonder what the director found.
I'm sure the director's smart enough to just be like, yeah, let's hit this button right here and push it through. But literally, it was one problem with having, like, an expiration date that was the wrong expiration date, so you left me like literally working without a license for 24 hours because I was theoretically expired because I didn't have a new one, and then you almost got my stuff revoked because of like nobody can tell me why.
Right.
And then you can't fix it.
Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare.
I was just frustrated.
I don't know. I guess I didn't realize this was even a thing, to be honest with you.
You didn't think people had to have certification?
Well, I guess I thought it was like anything else where you go to classes, you do the thing, and now that's it. Like you're an EMT for life.
No, as a nurse, I still have to be licensed to work in a state or the District of Columbia or whatnot. I have to renew every 2 years. I have to take so many so many continuing education hours.
Huh. I did not know this.
Yep. I actually have to come up. I hold a Michigan as well, even though I've never worked in the state of Michigan as a nurse. But I have to get my CEs together for that by the end of April is when I expire there. So, yeah, like everything, you have to take.
What about doctors? Do they have to do this too?
They have to keep their board licensure up, yeah.
And what does that entail? Is that like a test they take every year? Or?
No, they have to take a certain amount of CEs, continuing education, but I don't know how many because I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
so I don't keep up on their stuff. And for nurses, it actually is changes state to state how many hours you need, and some places need hours in specific fields.
Like what do you mean?
That they force you to do. Like I know the state of Michigan always requires you to do at least you have to have at least CEU on pain management. I don't know why they like that, but they do. And some place else makes you do something on have to do. Was it from DC? Maybe started something for human trafficking.
Really,
was the latest one that we had to do. Make sure you did a CEU on human trafficking.
Huh. I had no idea.
But
I just thought it was like a job. I mean, I'm glad to hear this, but I've lived my whole life assuming that it was a job like any other job where, you're
just certified as done.
Yeah, you go, you get. I am doctor now.
Nope, you can definitely have to. Well, except in the state of Maryland, I know that as long as you're working full time, they don't require you to get CEUs. Huh. So, state of Maryland, those people can, really be working as a nurse. And in theory, my job constitutes being a nurse, so I would not have to take any continuing education, and I would keep a nursing license just from doing nursing informatics stuff, which really doesn't,
that's not nursing at all.
Yeah, well, it's not bedside nursing for sure. It's not direct care nursing.
Yeah, I guess.
So
it's not like human interaction nursing, I guess.
Right.
You know what I learned the other day, and I felt like a fucking idiot. So, me and this girl I'm dating, we were talking, and she said something about having to get her tonsils taken out when she was younger. And she said something like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but we got on the subject of what are tonsils? And I was like, I don't know, it's that dangly bit, right? And she's like, no, that's the uvula. And I'm like, uvula. I was like, I know that word. I was like, but isn't that like part of your vagina? And she's like, no, you fucking idiot. That's the vulva. And I'm like, yes, right, the vulva. You are correct. And then and then I'm like, but still, and so anyways, I fucking Google this shit. My entire life, I thought the tonsils were the hanging bit, not the like sacs on each side of your hanging bit.
So as a kid, I used to think the same thing, and I learned, in adulthood, and I mean still in like high school. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of shit for this, that the difference. But I guess one of the things is, have you ever seen somebody without their uvula? And you can't tell me when you were a kid and people had their tonsils out, you weren't like, let me see. And
I never did. I remember kids would get their
uvula.
tonsils out, and I just assumed, because I feel like, excuse me, in cartoons, whenever they would talk about tonsils, I feel like they always referred to the dangly bit, not anything else.
I mean, they probably do in cartoons.
Well, that's my whole knowledge on the back of my throat, I feel like, is what I learned from fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I don't know Scooby-Doo specifically.
I mean, yeah, that was just the first cartoon that came to my mind.
I guess, I mean, it does kind of make you wonder things that, like sure, cartoons can be unrealistic and all that stuff, but they should teach appropriate. They shouldn't just teach wrong facts.
Right? So I felt real dumb. And I was fucked up as I'd made fun of her too right before that about being stupid. And she's like, I was like, you're being real stupid right now. Now I Google this, and I'm like, I'm really stupid.
Now I was just looking. There was a Reddit post today that I saw that was, what stupid fact did you not realize until much later than you should have, or something like that. This would have been a perfect thing to.
Oh yeah, Justin does this all the time, where he's like, what do you mean, sheep or lamb or some shit like that? I mean, it's constantly where it's like, Justin, how did you make it in this world? But I totally felt like Justin the other night when I'm looking at tonsils going like, what?
Yeah, my big one is the whole pamphlet thing.
No, pamphlet, right?
Yeah, pamphlet. It's that's that changed my world when I realized that was not.
Yeah, I was definitely an adult when I realized the PH was in there too. And I got that from audiobooks because they enunciate it more. And I'm like, what the fuck are you saying?
You're like, why do they keep enunciating that weird sound in the word pamphlet?
So yeah, I feel like whenever you brought it up in one of our recordings, I had like recently learned, so it wasn't like I hadn't had that knowledge much longer than you had, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I think the funniest thing about learning things that you feel stupid for not knowing, because the whole time you were just like, there's no way I could be wrong, and it turns out I was like just completely wrong about this basic fact.
Right.
Is the fact that other people's thought process of that is, it's not even thinking like, wow, how did I not know that? But literally it's just like, how did other people know that?
Yeah. What class did I miss that they got?
Yeah. Where was it? When was pamphlet one of the words on my spelling test? Like,
right?
It definitely was not, or I might remember something like that. I remember the word vacuum being there. So I remember that, realizing that vacuum is spelled VACUUM is the appropriate spelling of vacuum when I was young, because they taught us that specifically.
Is there some other spelling of vacuum?
Well, vacuum, like phonetically spelling it, would be VACUME.
I guess. Fucking English is weird like that anyways, like all the words.
Yeah, absolutely it is. But it's one of those things that I don't remember pamphlet being ever one of those words that they gave me to.
So I don't know.
I had no reason ever. And when else do you use pamphlet in writing anywhere? Unless you're like a writer.
Right. Like when you make a pamphlet, you don't like label it or something.
Right. Pamphlets go here.
I don't know when they start teaching spelling in school, because like my daughter in second grade, we're still being told, don't correct her spelling. It'll just make her subconscious. Don't correct her spelling. And in so like, grade? Yeah. So like they do tons of writing exercises where they write like short stories. They do reading response where they like read a book and then they write about their book and everything. But we're not supposed to correct their spelling. Just let them spell the words how they think it's spelled, and that's that.
Okay, something has gone wrong in this room, and I don't know what it is.
Is there fire again?
There's not fire, but there's not as many lava-filled things as I've done. I thought I had at least two lava things still running on it.
Well, you took one out because of the fire. When I left, there was...
Did I fix it and did I not put the lava back?
No, you did not put the lava back.
Okay. Maybe there's nothing just wrong with the room. I'm trying to... I don't want to do more of these because I want to know if we're going to continue to run into this problem and we need to change strategies before I fill them all up.
Right. I hope not because it looks... I was looking at it before I left. I'm getting more sandstone right now. And the lighting it gives is actually almost perfect the way we spaced it. Like, it lights up those walls really well. So
yeah,
I
just need to
that works.
Find out what it was that was the problem. I'm gonna put lava back in this one and we'll find out. Yeah, I don't know when did she start learning how to read?
I mean, before she started school.
But like, when did she start understanding? Like, I feel like I read, Jack books and stuff all the time, and he follows along with the pictures and this, that, the other, but he's not really picking up on what letters are.
Really?
Which letters are what yet? Come up on 3.
Oh no, he's fine then.
No, I didn't think he was that behind, but I don't know when he's supposed to do it.
I feel like by the time she was about to turn 5, she was reading on her own, small books, like, like Dr. Seuss, Hop on Pop, that sort of thing.
But when did she start seeing like, oh, A, B, C? Like, I can see that there's...
I think definitely when she was in her 2s.
Twos.
Yeah, so before she was 3. I feel like he's at the age now where he should definitely recognize letters, and
maybe
probably will be soon
to recognize letters.
I've heard boys are a lot slower in that stuff. I know it's hard to like stereotype based on gender, but I've heard that it's a lot harder to teach boys reading in general. I've like heard that from like teachers at the school even, and like moms were like, my daughter picks it right up, my son's an asshole, basically.
Yeah, it's just started realizing that it's like we keep reading in books and he follows along, he likes to read them, but he's mainly like...
I mean, does he have like lots of like little games and stuff where like you do like letters stuff with him? I remember she had tons of shit like that.
He had like letter cookies at one point, and I was trying to get him to tell me it's the whole box of like little sugar cookies. That's it's all these letters and numbers. That's all it is. And I'd be like, you gotta tell me what the letter is before I give you the cookie. And of course, I'd let him guess a couple times, and I tell him what it is and give it to him, and hoping that that's gonna like start picking up. And but relatively recently, but it's just so funny because he's 2, he's still in his 2s, and it's just like, what letter is this? And the first thing he just goes 4. No, Jack, 4 is a number.
I wonder what, like, if I Google, like, what age should they should kids recognize their ABCs? I wonder what the Google answer is. What age should kids? Do y'all do the song and stuff?
Oh, yeah, he knows he's known the ABC song forever. He can run through the entire song, like, recognize the...
Most children recognize letters between the ages of 2 and 3.
Okay, so we need to make sure he's getting those letters down then. I mean, who knows? Maybe he does recognize it.
Right.
Like, doesn't tell us, doesn't want to put them together yet. Because he will say things like, what I said to him one time about, like, let's go read a book, but I meant, like, let's go read a book. And he was like, I don't know how to read that.
Apparently by 4, they should recognize each letter's sound, like A is ah, sort of thing.
Okay, I didn't realize that was 4. I thought that kind of came with as you recognized, but...
No, because I do remember in my daughter's preschool, that was like a whole exercise we would go through. Like she knew her letters, but she still didn't know all the phonetic sounds that they would all make. So I remember that being like a separate learning exercise of teaching that after she knew for sure, like always, like this is always A, is always B, so on. She like still sometimes, and she's 8, like still sometimes on her, whenever she's writing something, she'll get her B's and D's backwards. but like it's not all the time, so it's not consistent. But I still feel like
that seems pretty standard, though, right?
I don't know. I would think by her age that wouldn't happen anymore. So like that's kind of concerned me a little bit. I'm like, all right, now, child, you should know which one's B and which one's D. You're 8 years old. I mean, at this point, you know, she's reading chapter books and shit. So like, you know, she's reading much big like books where she's seeing B's and D's.
Right. No, I gotcha. I'm fine. I'm convinced now that Jack has a chance to not be colorblind.
Oh, did you think he was?
Oh yeah, I mean, constantly constantly doesn't seem to be able to differentiate our red and green, which is extremely common colorblindness. You know, colors to not be able to do. But he seems to be all of a sudden getting a little bit better at it, and I don't know if it's just guessing or knowing certain things what they are. But it seems to be a little bit more there. But I mean, time will still tell. But I was like 100% sure that he was colorblind, like 3 months ago. And now I'm like, there's a chance.
It's kind of rough because the way you test those are normally like these like ink splatter things that have like letters in them. Yeah, so it's like, what letter is this? We don't fucking know.
Right. Well, they do have the trace your finger one.
Oh, gotcha.
Able to do, but didn't bother to get into any of that stuff. Because honestly, if he is colorblind, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
it's just, like, no.
Right. It's not that. Yeah. There's much worse things to be.
Right.
Like dyslexic. God, I was so worried about that with my daughter. Like, just because reading. Like, I feel like reading is the most fundamental skill that you can have as a person, right? Because if you can read, you can learn everything else. Like, you can teach yourself anything as long as you can read. But if you can't read, like, you're kind of fucked from, like, go, basically.
Well, I mean, in the internet day and age, now there's YouTube.
I don't want my child learning based on YouTube. Holy shit. She'll just know about dicks.
She's going to.
D is for dick, daddy. All right, thanks.
Well, if you're gonna say D is for dick, at least write a D and not a B then.
Oh shit. And with that, we're out of time, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this episode.
We're gonna call this episode Bix.
Yeah, Bix. The pen. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All right, see ya.